Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Kia Simone, and we got to get into this part 2 of this reunion. Yes, I know I am super late, but I got good reasons, okay? First of all, my mama's birthday was Sunday. Y'all tell my mama happy birthday. After that was a nightmare, child. We have to go live sometime between now and my birthday so I can tell y'all this whole story in detail, because I already know I ain't got the kind of time that I need to tell y'all all the details I need to tell y'all, because this was some bullshit. Child, I done caught hell trying to deal with contractors and getting the dishwasher installed and all kind of bullshit. The man done come into my house talking to me loud like he crazy. I done gone from nice to nutty, but I lost my damn mind. Now, we 2 seconds from having to call the law, because who is you talking to? I done gone to the grocery store trying to calm down so I could do my review. Go and get me a bottle of wine, because I'm going to relax my damn nerves. I'll be damned if it relaxed my nerve all right. Because next thing I know, I woke up 5-something this morning, stretched out, half dressed, all the lights on. Child, it was just a damn mess, okay? But I'm here now. Let's get into it. Before we do, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already, okay? And, of course, I got to shout out my super thankses. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all more than y'all will ever know, okay? Shout out to Amber Lade, Elijah's Mimi, Lisette, Tanya Fuller, Yvette Greer, and on Cash App, Vanessa Bird. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. So, of course, part 2 picks up where part 1 left off, which is with Carlos asking Kiki, has Tisha ever stated or speculated that Marisol has cheated on her? Kiki said, well, Tisha never outright stated that Marisol has cheated on her, but she has definitely speculated that Marisol has cheated on her. And Carlos asked, well, was this before the show? Kiki said, yeah, it was. Now, Tisha is sitting there looking at Kiki like she's crazy. So Carlos asked her, well, is Kiki lying? She said, yes, I have never gone to Kiki and said, I think Marisol is cheating on me. Kiki said, oh, I'm lying? Tisha starts explaining, so what happened was, I found a picture of a girl in Marisol's phone. Kiki said, yes. Carlos looked like, girl, what? Mel just grinned, and Miss Wanda looked shocked. Tisha said, and there were hearts on the reply. Girl, what? Carlos said, so was this a naked picture? Kiki said, it was. Tisha said, it was a booty shot. Girl, is that supposed to make it better? Martell just covered his face trying not to laugh. Marisol is just looking off into the distance like, just don't crack a smile. Because this picture, the lie and the laugh, done made its way around this boys group a long time ago. Tisha said, so when she saw the picture in Marisol's phone, she took a screenshot of it and sent it to Kiki like, what the fuck? So the 2 of them together did their research, but they found nothing else. Absolutely nothing. The trail just went cold. So that was the end of that. Girl, bullshit. Ain't no way. First of all, your husband got pictures of S in his phone that he's heart replying to. And you just, well, I didn't find anything else. That's the end of that. Just what kind of research did y'all do? Is there not possibly a backup phone? And furthermore, to go to Kiki with this picture and say, what the fuck, is kind of like saying, what is he doing? Is he cheating? Like, let's research and see if he's cheating on me. So there was the speculation of cheating. Now, the problem is, as your cousin and confidant, she should not have divulged that to anybody. She shouldn't have weaponized that against you. So Carlos asked Tisha, did you confront Marisol about that? She said, yeah, I confronted Marisol about that. Of course I did. So he asked Marisol, well, how did this picture end up in your phone? Martell sat up like, yeah, I want to hear this lie. Marisol said, I was, you better hurry up and lie. Marisol said, I had interviewed this girl, and out of the blue, she just sent me this picture. Kiki says, out of the blue. Because please go to out of the blue hell. Carlos starts talking to Tisha in this, explain this to me like I'm 5 voice. He said, so Tisha, you mean to tell me you went through Marisol's phone and you discovered pictures of a woman's ass with hearts on her ass, and Marisol's bold ass pipes up to say, no, It wasn't hearts on her ass. I hearted the picture like I hearted, like I thumbs up. I liked it. Tisha, fight back. The Kiki said, and you replied to it. Marcel said, no, I didn't. She said, yes, you did. You said a midday's work surprise. Tisha sat there and looked for a minute. Yeah, actually, yeah, you did say that. Marcel said, well, you know what's funny? The word surprise. I would have gone Karate Kid on Marcel's ass. It's like he enjoys disrespecting Tisha, and she don't mind. She don't mind trading in her dignity as long as she can keep her title. As long as I got my MRS, you keep that dignity over there. Carlos said, why did this woman feel comfortable enough to send you that? Did y'all have conversations that made her comfortable enough to send you that? I mean, Carlos is offended for Tisha since you ain't got sense to be offended for yourself. Martell said, I just want to know if she got the job. Marcel said, no, women send me stuff like that in my DMs all the time now, but that was my first time getting something like this. And I was surprised. There was no communication after that. You believe that if you want to, Tisha. Martell is looking around like he smelled bullshit and me too. Tisha pipes up and starts defending the bullshit immediately. She said, this is all I ever found. Nothing ever came of it. I never found any other evidence like, oh God, they're together or texts or pics or anything like that. So, girl, Tisha, listen. Tisha ain't dumb, but this is why people think Tisha's dumb. Like, it's one thing to say, look, I might know the ins and outs of my marriage, and it might not be ideal for y'all, but it's all right for me, and I'm choosing to stay here. But it's something else to try to sell us this story with this kind of bullshit in your face. Like, this man is getting S-pics that he's hearting and replying to, and you just think there's nothing to it. What, you think this lady was just being a good Samaritan, just airdropping pics to random men in the middle of their work day? Just, y'all have a good day. I hope you enjoyed it. And then he didn't tell you the girl that I interviewed to work for our company sent me pics. You had to go find that on your own after he had his own little exchange of appreciation with her. So Carlos starts talking to Tisha like she's 5. Carlos said, but the thing that's confusing to me, and I think the world, is that your husband received a sexually explicit photo that he liked and replied to. And after experiencing that and all the other things that people are saying, you've never once questioned or thought, could there be truth to the things that people are saying? Tisha said, I researched it. Carlos looked at her like, well, sis, you got an F, but you got me F'd up on this research project of yours because it does not make sense. Tisha said that before she will confront Marcel over accusations from anyone, including the members of this cast, she does her research. Carlos said, and what did your homework provide for you? What did you find in your homework? Tisha said, nothing. What they're trying to throw at us is what they're actually dealing with. Multiple women. Okay. That may be true, but this definitely gives that you turn a blind eye to certain behaviors that are going on in your own marriage. It just gives that. Now, the flip side of that is that's Tisha's prerogative. This is Tisha's marriage, and if she didn't decide that she wanted to come on this show and blow her marriage up, that's her business. If other people could stay in their marriage until they were ready and felt they were in proper position to blow up the spot, then Tisha can do that too. But I'm just saying, Tisha, please don't expect us to go along with this because this don't even make no sense. So Carlos said, well, Tisha, look, I don't care if it's one girl or 1,000. And Tisha interrupts to say, but there's no girl. He's not in anybody. That's the thing. Tisha said, if I had found anything, if there was a girl, if he was somebody, it would have been a problem. It would have gone down. And she knows that. She knows me. She knows how I get down. Tisha said, I actually forgot about it. It happened so long ago that I forgot about it until she brought it up on the show. So Carlos asked, well, how long ago did this happen? Tisha said, this had to be about 14 years ago. Girl, you ain't gonna play in my face. That's what you're not gonna do. The ability to heart react to messages wasn't available 14 years ago. 14 years ago was damn near BlackBerry Messenger days, girl. 14 years ago? Kiki said there was not no 14 years ago. Carlos said, you know what? I ain't getting no way with Tisha because Tisha ain't playing with your ass. Tisha is going to defend her marriage to the very end. You hear me? He said, Miss Wanda, let me ask you. Did you know anything about this? Miss Wanda said, I ain't know nothing about this. Tisha don't tell me everything. I didn't know nothing about this. Carlos said, well, how does it make you feel to know that your daughter experienced this with Marcel? Miss Wanda said, well, it hurts because I looked at Marcel totally different. Marcel said, because of an ass shot. Miss Wanda said, cheating is cheating. Looking at ass is cheating. Lusting over somebody is cheating. Cheating is cheating. Maurice says, well, I'm guilty. Kimmy looked at him like, I know you joking. After they just let the 4 a.m. cat out the bag, you just gonna sit up here and say, oh, I'm guilty. I be looking at ass. I be lusting over you just go. One thing these men do not mind doing is embarrassing their wives. My thing is, even if, let's say Kimmy and Maurice have this you can look but don't touch agreement, where she says, listen, I know you got eyes. So if you want to look at, something you see, I'm not going to make you act like you blind. It's all right if you look. Just don't look too long, too hard, and don't buy. Don't touch nothing. It's one thing if they have that agreement, but respect your wife enough. Protect her crown enough. Did not bring your country apple ass on national TV and say some like, well, if that's cheating, I'm guilty. Shut up. Carlos said, okay, look, a lot of things have been said and thrown out there. And he said, Tisha, you know that your cousin is a part of the show. Did you feel that Kiki went behind your back to get on the show? Tisha said, well, no, because she told me she was going to be filming with Mel. I just didn't know she was going to be talking about me until I heard that from other people at the party. Kiki said, oh, wow, so I didn't tell you? Tisha said, at the party, you told me what was said, but you didn't tell me what you said. Kiki is going off, yes, I did. There was nothing that was said that I didn't tell you. Kimmy and Mel are looking around like, nah, that's some bullshit, because, girl, you definitely did the job you got paid to do. Kiki said, tell me one thing I said that I didn't tell you about. Name it. Name it. Tisha said, well, the allegation about Marceau cheating, and I don't consider me finding this picture on Marceau's phone as me finding evidence that my husband is cheating on me. And she knows that. I don't know why she's not saying that, because she knows I don't consider that evidence of my husband cheating on me. Kiki starts this lean on me speech about, I never said it was, and I won't be made out to be a liar by anyone on this stage. Miss Wanda said, that's exactly what you are. Because, girl, please, save this bond court speech, okay? Kiki turns to Miss Wanda. I love that girl. Miss Wanda said, you don't do nobody like that when you love them. If you loved her, you wouldn't have gone to her, pointing at Mel, and talked about her. Kiki said, if you loved a niece like you supposed to love a niece. Miss Wanda said, you don't do that. I'm talking now. You want the rooster to crow? Woo, 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 woo. Just what in the rock-a-doodle hell? Kiki said, how tacky is that? And unbecoming is that? And uncouth is that? And I could give you a whole bunch of other synonyms. We know. That's your problem. You are full of vocabulary and void of character. Miss Wanda said, may I remind you that you brought this to us, and we had to hear about this from another friend. We ain't talking about family now. It's going to be a time at the next family reunion. You hear me? So Carlos turns the conversation to Kimmy, and he asks Kimmy, what were the things that were said at the Christmas party that we didn't air? Kimmy said, well, the conversation that didn't air started outside. And Kiki pipes up, well, who started the conversation? Kimmy said, you. Kiki started that. I know he the daddy, Maury Povich clapping. But roll the tape. I hope y'all got the tape. Roll that tape. And they did. And Kiki's a damn lie. Of course, the tape showed Kiki giving this very awkward speech to all of Mel's guests at this Christmas party about how she is Letitia's first cousin, but she and Letitia don't get along. And everybody is looking at her like, and Kimmy says to her, listen, this is probably a conversation that would be best had with Tisha, because to be sitting around having this conversation about your and Tisha's relationship with all these people who have nothing to do with your and Tisha's relationship kind of comes off like we're sitting around talking about Tisha. Kiki is, no, I can't have the conversation with her. She literally looked like she was petitioning the group to be traded for Tisha. Like, girl, this ain't drumline. So as they continue the conversation with Carlos, Kimmy is describing exactly what we just saw in the footage. She's saying that Kiki wanted to have this conversation with me about Tisha. And Kiki keeps saying, no, I didn't. Girl, they done rolled the tape like you asked them to and use a damn lie. Marcel interjects to say, look, I want to get to the meat and potatoes of why this heifer is here, okay? Can we talk about how the news of Kiki's addiction got delivered? Marcel said Martell told us about them inviting Kiki over to their house for something. And I want to know if the moment that we told them about Kiki, was it a solemn moment or was it a moment of laughter? Carlos asked Kiki how she was told the information was delivered. She said she was told that they were laughing. So he asked her, well, who told you that? She said Melody. So he went on up the grapevine to Melody. He said, Melody, when you were told this, was it told to you in a laughing manner? She says, yes, it was. Marcel said, well, you know what? Let me ask Martell. Martell, when the information was delivered to y'all, was it laughter or was it solemn? Martell said, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is, I don't remember at all. I really don't recall the moment. Marcel said it was a very solemn moment. And he told Tisha that if she didn't tell it, he was going to tell it. And that part, I'm trying to figure out why. Mel said, well, who told it? He said, I'm the one that told it. But when I told it, I wasn't laughing because it wasn't a joking matter. It was something that I actually took very seriously. Mel said, but you joked about it the whole first season. He said, no, I didn't. Marcel said she's lying. And the only reason she's saying that is to turn Kiki against us. Maurice steps up to defend Marcel and says there are times that Marcel has been there for Kiki in the middle of the night, prior to the situation of him making Mel and Martell aware of what was being introduced to their home. It was never a joking matter. So Mel starts saying, well, we all know how Marcel jokes and he didn't have to like get on an intercom and make an announcement. Maurice starts calling bullshit. No. See, that's that twisting stuff again. Mel said, well, you don't have to believe it, Maurice, and that's okay. Carlos said, okay. Well, like we all just said, we all know that Marcel is a jokester. So Mel, when he told you, did he say it in a way that was kind of trying to demean her and the addiction and what she was facing? Or was it just kind of Marcel being Marcel? Mel said, well, it was probably Marcel just being Marcel, but it wasn't funny. I mean, we didn't know that about her, and that was out of order. Marcel said, well, if I said in a joking manner, did you laugh? Mel said, hell no. He said, well, when have I ever made a joke and people didn't laugh? Start there. What? Mel said, you make jokes all the time that I don't laugh at. Like, Marcel said, if you didn't laugh, I didn't make a joke. Like, fool. No, the both of them are foolish, but Marcel especially, okay? About if I make a joke, everybody laughs. First, you ain't funny. You ain't funny then and you ain't funny now. The issue is not about how this information was divulged. The question is why. What was the motivation? The same way that Kiki is out of line for sharing as Tisha's cousin and confidant, that Tisha confided in her, that she found this information in Marcel's phone, the same way she's out of pocket for that, Y'all are out of pocket for just going around the friend group divulging unnecessary personal information. And in regard to mail, if this was so unfunny, so out of pocket, and so concerning, why did you not, after you have been made aware of this issue, why didn't you either check on your friend who you claim was your friend since long before you knew the people who were divulging the information to you? Or two, why didn't you divulge this to your friend long before you chose to weaponize the information? All y'all are full of shit, and Kiki's a fool for being in the middle. So Carlos finally said, Kiki, do you believe that he laughed and joked about it? And Kiki starts out, it's just so tricky because if you don't answer the question with your wannabe wordsmith, I'm so tired of you. Answer the damn question. She says, I know that Marceau is a jokester, but honestly, I don't see Marceau doing that. And she starts giving this speech about how her addiction is a situation that she and her friends and her family and all of the village people were so deeply affected by. There were so many people who looked up to her, and there were so many people who were so proud of her. So for her to sink to this low in life, it was devastating. Tisha is probably the first person that she shared that she had this issue with. And Tisha was also the person who took her to rehab. So she doesn't believe for a second that Tisha would ever joke about it, but she was just still so bitter and angry and hurt that Tisha would expose or share this information in the first place, because they never knew her to go into anyone's home and take anything or do anything crazy or irrational. And that's my thing. If y'all never knew her to be a danger to anyone, why were you sharing the information? Carlos said, so basically at the end of the day, you felt like that was your business to tell. And Kiki said, yeah, I had been to rehab and I just didn't feel there was any reason to divulge that. And Marceau begrudgingly says, no, Kiki confided in her first cousin, who turned around and pillow talked to her husband, who turned around and crab table talked my business to y'all friends. It's betrayal if you tell her that you're a safe place, allow her to confide in you, and then turn around and put her business on the HOA agenda. Just want to make sure everyone knows not to invite Kiki to the cookouts. She might steal your forks and your catalytic converters. The same way that y'all have your right to privacy and y'all can live this whole illogical life and tell us don't ask no questions even though none of this makes sense, she has her right to her privacy and whatever dysfunction she's dealing with if she's not a danger to other people. I really would like Marceau to answer. What is the specific byproduct of her addiction that he was warning them of? So Carlos asked Kiki and Tisha about the state of their relationship. Kiki said, we're cordial, and Tisha said, we're at the same place that we were when she went to that Christmas party. Tisha said she had been very supportive and encouraging to Kiki, so it was shocking to her to see her on TV saying that they were in a bad place. And Kiki is nodding in agreement. They must have had a sale somewhere on Audacity, because if this heifer had the nerve to say, for me, I guess it's just awkward that, it's not like it used to be. Girl, when you decide to align with your first cousin's enemy, to go malign your cousin and her marriage on TV, you got to be fully prepared to throw that relationship away, okay? People think being related guarantees relationship, and it does not. You cannot do people any kind of way and think it's just gonna always be the same because we related. It don't work like that. So Carlos says, well, at the end of the day, y'all are first cousins and it would be sad to let a TV show come between y'all. I said, what in the gaslighting hell? What, Carlos? How you bring this lady on TV to stir up drama with her cousin and then say, don't let this show come between y'all now. What? This is messy with a capital mess, okay? Tisha said, well, it's not the show. Carlos said, well, the show, misunderstandings, or ulterior motives. Whatever is coming between y'all, fix it. So we move on to the next segment, which is Mel versus Miss Wanda. And Carlos starts out with the match at Madani. He starts the questioning with asking Mel what made her want to confront Miss Wanda for the things she said on camera. So Mel starts out with telling the story about, well, when I went over there, I didn't approach her at first. When I went over there, I started talking to the gentleman who had just been on live saying how he could come up there with choppers. Because when I went over there, I saw his face and I was like, oh, aren't you so-and-so? You were just on live threatening me. So he and I were having a conversation. Wanda then chimed in and said, yeah, because I don't like you. So the initial conversation wasn't even with her. The initial conversation was with her relative who was right there. Miss Wanda said that is not how it happened. This is deflection and misdirection because the question was not, who did you talk to first? The question was, why did you want to confront Miss Wanda on camera for the things that she said online? Secondly, she said, when I approached Miss Wanda's stand and I saw so-and-so and recognized his face, I asked, aren't you the person who were just on? So you didn't go over there to have a conversation with him. This was a secondary recognition that happened after you were going over there for some other primary motivation. What was the primary motivation? That's the question. And the answer would be, I went over there for a confrontation because I was pissed off about the things that she said and I got a 2-for-1, because that would be the truth. This is trying to get the responsibility off of me for creating a whole melee. So I'm going to say that what I was doing was approaching to have a conversation, and what Miss Wanda did was escalated to a confrontation. Girl, bye. Miss Wanda gets to telling her side. Miss Wanda said, you and your mother came out there. Mel said it was me, Martell, and my mother. Well, you and your mother came out there and you was on your phone. You was going live. Mel said, I was going live. You were going live saying, yeah, y'all, I'm about to get it started. I'm about to be handling things. And of course, they showed the footage of Mel standing right next to Miss Wanda's stand, going live about to start some shit. Miss Wanda said, don't play with me, girl. That's exactly what happened. She said, so I walked around the table, and that's when she looked at Bernard. She starts going at Bernard about, oh yeah, you had a problem with me too. You had a problem with me too. You was threatening me. And she says, on my live, all Bernard said is, I got that chopper. Why is Bernard announcing that he has that chopper? He never said, well, Mel, I got this chopper for you. But Miss Wanda, what is the point of him saying that on a live where y'all going back and forth about gossip and rumors and trash talk on a reality TV show? Why is he announcing that he got that chopper? Miss Wanda is adamant that he never said that, he never made any threats directly toward Mel. I can pull up my live and I can play that. And Mel is in the background. Oh my God, the mental capacity of it all is just whack. But girl, you just finished dodging a complete question like your mental capacity was whack. So I mean, everybody full of shit. You know you went over there starting shit. And Miss Wanda know Bernardi had no right talking about he got chopped. What are you talking about? You got choppers for? And you supposed to be taking vitamins and medicine. Go sit down. Carlos said it's going to be a very tense moment, but he wants to have a real conversation about personal space, boundaries, the word ratchet being thrown around, and children. And he poses the question to Miss Wanda about what exactly she said about Mel and Martell's children. So Ms. Wanda starts explaining that about a month before the live in question where she made the comments, she saw Martell on Dr. Heavenly's live on YouTube. And she heard Martell making commentary, and he was saying something along the lines of he wonders who that last baby's daddy was. And she took it from there. Now, I thought Martell said on Dr. Heavenly's live that Mel had terminated 2 pregnancies and he thought that that was because she was cheating. That's what I recall hearing him say. Now, the truth would be she got on Carlos's show talking about baby daddies and pissed me off. So I decided, since she wanted to talk about baby daddies, I took what Martell was on the internet saying and ran with it and told her, since you want to talk about baby daddies, go find your last baby daddy. Since your ex-husband is on the internet insinuating that you were getting pregnant by other men during your marriage. She started with me, she took it low, and I took it to hell. That would be the truth. So Carlos asked Mel if how Miss Wanda is explaining it is how she took Miss Wanda's live. And she said absolutely not. Because Miss Wanda was on live saying things like she could bring pictures of the person and she could hold pictures up for comparison and stuff like that. So no, I didn't take it the way she's explaining it now. It sounded like Miss Wanda said, well, what I was referring to is people were in my inbox saying, which baby daddy you talking to? And I guess that's how she was getting these pictures. Carlos says, so Martell, based on what you saw, you took it that she was referring to. Martell looked like he woke up from his nap because he's sleeping with his damn eyes open. He said, yeah, but my youngest child. Martell, I think you're forgetting something. Carlos said sugar mama, because we're not actually talking about your youngest child. Carlos said, well, Miss Wanda, based on what both of these parents have said, they said that they took your comments to be questioning the paternity of sugar mama. Miss Wanda said, not on my live, I was not. But Miss Wanda, didn't you have said she need to go find her last baby daddy? You did have said that, Miss Wanda. My thing is, why not just say, the girl came on your show playing with me and pissed me off. Since she decided that she wanted to play with me, like me and her on the same damn level, and I ain't old enough to be her damn mama, and wanted to play on baby daddies, I got on my live, and yes, I told her go find her last baby daddy. But the intent of that was to comment her character, not to say anything about her child, because her ex-husband was on the internet insinuating that during their marriage, she was getting pregnant for other men. It was tit for tat, and I play it better. Why didn't you just say that? Carlos says, the one thing about this collective is that kids have always been off limits. And even though this all happened on Miss Wanda's Instagram Live, they have to hold her accountable for her clapback, and that the clapback should have been at the adults involved in this situation. So why would you stoop to the level of involving someone's child? Miss Wanda said, okay, well, let me ask you this. I often reference on the show Marceau having an outside baby, that he might have a child outside his marriage. And I say, baby daddy. I say, are you the baby daddy? Now, am I talking about Marceau or am I talking about the child? Carlos says, yeah, but that's a non-existent baby, allegedly. And he turns the question to Martell and asks Martell directly, has he ever questioned the paternity of Sugar Mama? Martell said he never questioned the paternity of his child. And so Carlos turns the question to Kimmy and Maurice and asks Kimmy and Maurice if they understand why the Holts are upset. Maurice says, I understand both sides of this thing. Because from Wanda's perspective, if we're talking about baby daddies, then she's saying that what she's saying is about baby daddies. He said, but I've also always told Martell that he needs to protect the kids first. Martell's stupid ass pipes up to say, no, but we talking about something different. Nick, shut up. Mari said, no. What I'm saying is, she's saying she got whatever information she got from an interview you did with Dr. Heavenly. Nobody can question anything about y'all's relationship without y'all first putting it out there. I'm saying to protect the kids from the very beginning. And ultimately, that information should have never been shared. I'm in agreement with Maurice. That's my position about it. You are the root of this. And you should have never gotten on the internet to share that kind of information about your ex-wife. Martell thinks it's okay for him to bash Mel, but not for anybody else. If we're holding people accountable for online behavior, let's discuss it all and hold people accountable across the board. So Carlos asked Tisha, does she think her mom was wrong for what she said? Tisha said yes, but I feel like she was going tit for tat with Mel and trying to call Mel out for sleeping around, like, is that Martell's baby? Mel says, sleeping around when? And that routes us right back to Martell, because the question sprung from Martell and all of his accusations. Tisha said there are pictures people are comparing in the online groups, I guess, of the child and the man child. I don't know. She said, but Mel is also wrong for bringing all of this from online onto a national TV show. The point is, they're both wrong. They both do things that are wrong. And I think it's fair to call both of them out, not just one. It's not all my mom. And I agree. Martell said, but what's so wrong about saying my mom was wrong for talking about a 2-year-old? Tisha said, but I did tell her that and I just said it. And I have a question for you, Martell. At what point do you take accountability for the seeds you planted? The selective outrage is bullshit. Tisha said, the thing is, for some reason, people don't like to hold Mel accountable for the things she do. Mel said, does. Tisha said, but Melody is wrong and my mom is wrong too. And Mel is twisting her face up. So yeah, Melody, her grammar might be wrong, but all y'all is wrong together. Marcel said, I think Wanda's intention was to talk about Melody, but the direct object of that statement was Sugar Mama, and that's where she should have pumped the brakes. Martell said, well, how do you know what her intentions were? Almost as if he's insinuating that they're using her for a mouthpiece so they know her intentions. Marcel said, well, I said, I think. He said, and I also think that a kid being a part of it should have made her back up. So yeah, she was wrong in that situation. However, I do think that Melody cleverly rephrased the argument to get it off of her, direct it to the child, and make it seem like Wanda's anger was directed at the child. And I agree. Mari said, if in her mind, she's saying, if you're talking about baby daddies, we talking about baby daddies. Her intent is not talking about this child. But I am saying that when you have children, you have to have more consideration. You have to say there are certain conversations and certain types of statements I'm going to forego, even if it seems like I'm indirectly addressing somebody's children. Basically, don't think you can talk about other people's baby daddies and children, and then as soon as they start talking about yours, then it's all fouls. So here's my thing. How is Miss Wanda being held accountable but no one else? Because Martell got online on YouTube Live and made all these accusations about Mel having terminations. Martell got on Instagram Live and put cameras in his children's faces to disparage their mother online. He's not being held accountable at all. Mel gets to involve Tisha's daddy and come for Miss Wanda on Carlos's show, and she's not being held accountable. But when the clapback is just too much, then we got a problem. And part of the problem is that Carlos sets the table for drama, stirs the pot, serves the mess, and then doesn't want to be responsible for the dirty dishes. You set the stage for a bunch of mess and then call yourself holding one person accountable for collective messy bullshit. It's bullshit, and it's finding a scapegoat. So Carlos brings up the Tiffany situation. And he said that when Tiffany came onto the show and made the comments that she made about Maurice's son, Monster, everyone went to town on her. Everyone was in agreement that she was wrong, including the fans, to the degree that the fans attacked her. Maurice said, well, yeah, that was a clear situation. There are no questions about that situation. Carlos said, yeah, so everybody was on the same page about that situation, but now it feels like people are making excuses in this situation. Maurice said, no, they're not. And Kimmy said, well, who's you guys? Who's you guys that are making excuses? Carlos said, everyone on this stage. Kimmy said, how you figure? Carlos said, well, at the last reunion, everyone was in agreement that Tiffany was wrong, and he said he just doesn't feel that same energy now. Kimmy speaks up to say, no, let me speak for Kimmy. I've gotten into issues with Tisha because of things that her mother has done, and because I felt the things her mother did was out of order. And this is another thing that I felt her mother did that was out of order. And honestly, I feel like what she's saying now is a backpedal. I don't think this has anything to do with the Dr. Heavenly interview. I think this has to do with common rumors that are out there and that are on social media, and that was too far. Carlos said he's a little surprised, and not in a good way, that it's not black and white about an innocent child being brought up. He said when y'all throw shade at each other, that's one thing. That's fair exchange of shade, but kids are always off limits. So Carlos goes on to bring up that he and Marceau had a separate conversation around season 2 when Carlos set up a scene where he had Martell pull Tisha and Marceau's minor child aside to address an argument that happened between the adults and apologize to this child. He said Marceau, of course, reached out to him to say, I don't want my child or children to be a part of any scenes that I'm not privy to. Carlos says he went on to say he felt so bad that he did something as an adult that involved a child that was inappropriate, and that should never happen again. And I was passionate about that, and I'm not a parent, and I'm just a little disappointed that that same passion isn't happening here. Everybody is trying to cover it and pretend they got clean hands. Carlos is creating a false equivalent, if you ask me. I think it's one thing to film an unauthorized scene with a minor child where you've involved them in an adult situation and have an adult having a conversation or addressing an accusation made toward this child's parent, and this child's parents are not present or privy to this conversation. Now here you have Miss Wanda getting online to talk cash shit about somebody who was just on TV talking cash about her. There were multiple moments and conversations and keys about Miss Wanda on that after show. So why is it okay for y'all to sit up and talk about her and laugh about her and be messy about her for ratings on TV, but then when she claps back, oh, it's too far, it's too much, it's too wrong? Everybody, and I do mean everybody, needs to own this shit. Tisha said, I told my mom she was wrong. Carlos said, but in all fairness, it took you a minute to tell her she was wrong, and then you said she was wrong, but. And that's the part that I think is unfortunate. And he turns to Mel and asks, Mel, what are you thinking right now? She said, I think you're making a lot of good points. That's what I'm thinking. You making a lot of good points. So Martell pipes up out of nowhere to say, well, what I want to know, Carlos, is the same passion and energy that you had about Marceau and Marceau's son, why you don't have that for my child. What? He said, because that wasn't the first time she talked about my child. The first time it was the hair thing. Carlos said, y'all never came to me about the hair thing. Martell said, well, I didn't feel like we needed to. I mean, if it was serious enough for me to get up in this woman's face. Carlos said, no. I just sat on this stage and said that I'm not a parent. And when I taped that scene, I didn't see anything wrong with it until a parent pointed it out to me and told me it's an issue. And you email me and call me all the time about other issues, don't you? Well, don't you? Carlos was pissed. He just spent this whole segment running down the whole Scott clan for Martell to try to play him. See, this is why you just get the story and stay out the shit. Martell is full of shit and looking for anybody he can run up under the wheels of his bus. Martell said, well, I was heated. I was extremely heated about that. But, I mean, you're right. Carlos said you were heated, but not to me. I said, no, Carlos, forgetting he the damn producer and the host about to come clean out his bag. Carlos said, let's have a real conversation about what happened. He said, when that thing happened, it took the two of you to call me and say, I don't think you really understand what's going on. Let us make you understand. He said, I then explained to y'all that in order to deal with this very sensitive matter, y'all were going to have to sit down and have a conversation. And that's how that first comeback group meeting came to be. Carlos said it was nice to see y'all be able to come together and have a conversation about it. Tisha says, well, I have a question. How could you come together and have a calm conversation when you're on live? And Mel pipes up and says, I'm definitely not about to respond to anybody who's defending their mom for talking about my kids back to back. I'm not. The reason Mel is not willing to have a conversation is because you know you're manipulating narratives. Tisha said, listen, I told my mom that it's not right, but because I know my mom and I know my mom's heart, I know what she's trying to say and how she says things. Miss Wanda said, I didn't think I was talking about kids, okay? All I said was go find your baby daddy. I'm sorry I said that part, but she came at me wrong. And that's the truth. That's what it boils down to. She came at me wrong. I told her go find her baby daddy. And I wasn't trying to hurt the baby. I was trying to hurt her mama, though. Carlos said, Melody, she just apologized. How do you feel about Wanda and her apology? Mel said, I'm good on that. She only apologized because you gave her the opportunity. She don't feel like she did nothing wrong, like she said nothing wrong. She don't think she was talking about nobody's kids. Honestly, the conversation with Wanda and I, it could have gone differently, but it is what it is. Everybody has an opinion. Carlos asked Melody, he said, based on that incident and this night, do you see a world where you could ever move forward with everyone? Mel said, never. Nope, never. Because we're trying to operate in this place where people aren't willing to be honest. People aren't willing to accept accountability. I said, now, well, ain't this the most projected hypocritical bullshit I have ever heard? Marcel said, have you ever held accountability for anything, Melody? Ever? I said, could somebody please show me Marcel's collection plate? Because that's the $1 million question. Mel starts looking around and tries to deflect. I'm talking to Carlos. Marcel said, well, I'm talking to you. So now she's telling Carlos she's not speaking to anybody but him. I'm not responding to anyone other than you. And at this point, girl, it's good riddance to bad rubbish. You can just go on, okay? Because don't nobody want to sit up here and watch you be the 10 man with no heart and all attitude. I'm tired. Ball up the Lumina Fall, throw it away, and leave us alone. Marcel repeated the question. He said, I would like to know if Melody has ever held accountability for anything ever. And even Martell is looking at her like, yeah, this is the question I've been waiting on. So Carlos asked Mel, so what do you say to that? She said he's entitled to his own opinion. He don't even really know me like that, but it's cool. Girl, what? Now these people don't know you like that, girl. This is the same man that you ran to and confided in when you found out your husband was dealing with old girl. This is the same man who you and your husband built businesses and took trips with. This is the same man who you said helped your husband jump off the porch into the land of infidelity. But now, when he asks you about your accountability, that seems to be absolutely absent from existence, he don't know you like that. Girl, what I'm gonna need you to do is get the out of here. Marcel said you can't find anything that she's ever taken accountability for, and I'll stand on that. I'll bet $1,000 to a bucket of shit that you cannot find footage of Melody taking accountability. Well, when you're right, you're right. Mel said you can stand on that because you'd love for me to say that I've just been making up stuff and all the stuff I've said is lies, but why would I take accountability for stuff that's true? No, take accountability for actually saying it, or for starting fights, or for your motivation for why you say the things that you say. Mel does this thing where she intentionally misdirects and misconstrues the intent of statements and questions, and it works my nerves. Marcel said, I ain't asking you for a bunch of things. I asked you to give me an example of one thing you've taken accountability for. He said, for example, if someone spoke about your children in such a manner, why would you approach them to have a polite conversation? I know I wouldn't. He said your intention was to confront Wanda. Why go live? She said, I went live when I went over there. Carlos, you got another question? Marcel said, Carlos, could you ask her why she went live when she went over there? She said, because it's my social media and I can go live if I want to. Marcel said, this right here is called a lie. Mel said, y'all are so concerned about me. Be concerned about what y'all got going on. Y'all eat, breathe, sleep, clock in, clock out, wake up thinking about Mel. Work on your storyline for next season. Tisha said, no, sis, that's you, obsessed with us. That's why you brought Kiki on the show, because you needed a storyline. Every scene you film, the topic is Tisha, Tisha, Tisha. The Christmas party was Tisha, Tisha, Tisha. And well, Tisha got a point. It's true. We've gotten a whole bunch of ain't nobody welcome in my house. Tisha ain't her husband is cheating on her, and the storyline is beefing with everybody. Like, that's what we've gotten. Why don't we get to see the whole social life and singing life that she alludes to online on the show? Why isn't that social media activity being brought to the show? Mel said, I've been bringing it for 5 years and it's time for y'all to step up. So what does that mean? It's time for them to put their marriage on the chopping block? Because that's essentially what y'all did. Y'all came in and from the gate put the Holt marriage on the chopping block. And now that that's been chopped to smithereens, y'all need fresh meat? Is that what you mean by bring it? Marcel said, well, maybe we should have a party and make Mel the topic of our conversation. Mel said, please. Tisha said, yeah, check for us. I don't know what she was checking. She just started hollering about checks. Tisha said, just because people call you out on your lies and your drama doesn't mean, oh, they're talking about me. It means they're calling you out and you can't face the facts. Tisha said, you can't face the truth. You were calling my cousin, asking all kind of questions about me. And that's the truth. I don't think we saw a single scene this season that was completely dedicated to Mel and any of her endeavors. Anytime that we did see a scene with Mel, her business endeavors were either some sort of a background or framing activity to give the scene some sort of branding and context. But the conversation in the scene was almost always about somebody else. Carlos said, well, this isn't the outcome I expected. For me, there's when the six of you come together, there's just this magic. There's this chemistry. Well, what kind of chemistry is we talking, Carlos? Is we talking H2O or is we talking TNT? Because it's all chemistry. Just because you have chemistry doesn't mean you're a good combination. And what did you expect? Did you think they were just going to be throwing shade and salt and accusations forever and everybody was just going to come back together and hold hands and go kumbaya? Like, what did you expect? Carlos said he thinks that there is still love there between them because for them to have a disagreement with this level of passion, that has to be rooted in the love that was once there. He said only time will tell where things go from here, but the intention of this moment was to present the opportunity for the group to come together and move forward, but he thinks the opposite may have just happened. You don't say. Maurice adds that he thought that after the announcement of Kimmy's situation, that the whole group would change their approach to not just each other, but to life. Because we know that tomorrow really is not promised and that they should be able to let go of a lot of this stuff because it's too heavy for their spirit to carry. And Carlos and Martell both agree, and we finally get to move on. So we move on and we see Destiny and Stormy take the stage. Carlos greets them. He starts out joking with Stormy about, you didn't bring me a Gucci bag. That Gucci bag gonna cost you a little beef. So he starts the discussion about the progression of Destiny and Stormy's relationship. And of course, we start off by seeing the reel of all their drama over the season. I mean, everything from the furniture moving at the Galentines, the heat at the housewarming, the Gucci gift at the grand reopening, the your gift can go to hell meeting at the warehouse, and the peacemaking at the peace party. That reel came to an end with the scene of Mel asking Stormy, are you and Destiny friends now? And Stormy says, well, I mean, we don't have no beef, but I don't see us being friends either. And Tisha said, never say never, because apparently Stormy and Destiny are friends now. So Carlos starts with the Galentines, and he asks Stormy why she was so offended by Destiny's response to her at Galentine's. Stormy said, well, basically it was a misunderstanding between her genuine curiosity and Destiny's hard response of ask your friend. So Carlos asked Stormy, do you think Destiny is aggressive? Stormy said no, because if Destiny is aggressive, then so am I. And I agree. I do not think it's fair to take how a person reacts to aggravation and call them aggressive. I also think that women who tend to speak up and stand up for themselves are called aggressive in an effort to discourage them from advocating for themselves. Does Destiny have her contributions to these issues? Absolutely. But I agree with Stormy about mislabeling her as aggressive. So Carlos asked Destiny about her first impression of Stormy. And she said, well, I actually really liked Stormy when I first met her. She was pregnant, so I thought she was cool. Carlos asked, well, basically, how did it go from that to y'all damn near throwing bows at the Galentines? Destiny said, well, she just kept asking me the same question over and over and over again, and it pissed me off. Martell said, well, she just wanted you to answer the damn question. Well, you pipe down, Piper, because you didn't have the smoke for your ex-wife who was just refusing to answer questions a minute ago. Destiny said, and I told her to ask the person who had the issue with the question. And Stormy interjected to say, well, the thing is, we were there a really long time. And I don't know if y'all remember, but there was a point where both you and Mel were going back and forth about, well, I don't have nothing to say. I don't have nothing to say. And I was just trying to figure out, well, damn, who said what? I really just wanted to know, especially as a new person in the group, where things stood in the group and why things were the way they were. But I feel like I still don't know that. Destiny said, me either, girl. Carlos said, me either, and then tried to laugh that shit off. No. So Carlos asked, what is the current state of their relationship? And Stormy said, I like Destiny a lot. Destiny said, ditto. We're Gucci. Carlos said, well, how did y'all get from the throwing bowls to this? Destiny said, well, two real was talking. Stormy said it basically was the two of them coming together to understand that Galentine's was an isolated moment, having a conversation and moving past it. Take notes, somebody in silver. So Carlos shifts the conversation to Stormy. And he says, the one thing I always say about the show is basically that this audience does not take well to new people on the show. And when Stormy was added to the show, he got a whole bunch of tweets about this is Love and Marriage Huntsville, not Love and Hip Hop. She's ghetto. This show is becoming ratchet because Stormy is on it. First of all, for me, the show was becoming ratchet long before Stormy was added. So it's not the addition of Stormy that was making the show ratchet. And I feel like part of the reason that the audience reacts with such reluctance and rejection to new characters is the way that they're added. There's no finesse. There's no development of the characters or the backstory or why they're being added. These people are just added in, instructed to participate in contrived drama. You serve it to us like some TV dinner and tell us it's a homemade meal and then mad when we don't want this. Stormy starts off by explaining that she thinks it's crazy that the whole premise of being on a reality TV show is supposed to be about real moments. And people take these real moments and judge you based on a whole picture that they've created from moments. And it's not fair because everybody and their mama have had moments where they're not their ideal self. They're not the best version of them. They're not who they are all the time. So it's not fair to call her ratchet based on moments you've seen. She started getting emotional as she was saying, listen, I'm a human being and I've worked my ass off. When I started working on the things that she has going on and people thought it wasn't going to be a thing and it became a thing, a really big thing, that means a lot to me. And that happened because I worked my ass off. She said it's very offensive to her when people make comments like, oh, she's ratchet or she's just somebody that came into a little money, because she's worked very hard with very little support to arrive at where she's at. So she's going to always be herself. And listen, at the end of the day, you got to be happy with you. It really does not matter what other people think. So as long as you are happy, as long as you are at peace, as long as you feel like God is pleased with you, you be your best self. Now for me, the problem with Stormy was how she came on the show. She came on the show as a friend of Mel, but she also adopted Mel's beefs. So she seemed to interject with a bias where she came on having an issue with people who really didn't even know her. And then on top of that, she was constantly throwing around her socioeconomic status, which was a little bit tacky. So those, to me, were the issues with Stormy, but I get where she's coming from. Carlos says this is why he presented the question to Stormy. He wanted to give her the opportunity to speak to this issue and this misconception, and that just because you're from the South or because you speak with an accent, it doesn't mean that you're stupid or you're ratchet or you're ghetto. And that's the truth. Carlos said, well, for me, what you brought to the show was a Black woman who grew up in the South and was able to make a name for herself in an industry where there was not a strong presence of Black women. You brought that entrepreneurship to the show, which is the DNA of the show. That's what the show is about. And while I agree with what Carlos is saying, what I want to know is why is it now imperative to have the discussion about calling people ratchet or ghetto for being from the South or speaking with an accent when that issue was completely overlooked when the same insult was hurled at Miss Wanda? I don't understand. Carlos turned to Destiny and said, speaking of commentary online, Destiny, a lot of people online have said they want you fired. Yeah, they don't understand how you can be on a reality show and not want to share your personal life. He said, now, when it comes to your ex-husband, we understand that situation, all right? We get that. But this season, there's a pillow sitting next to you rather than a man. So what do you have to say to people who want to know why you're on Love and Marriage Huntsville when you don't have a marriage and you're not in love? Okay, hold on. Before we continue, I have a question. Aren't both Mel and Martell on this show and not married or in love? And if they're in love, they're not allowing us inside their personal lives, and they're sitting on this stage with no one next to them. Now, Destiny responds by saying, well, who said I'm not in love? And just sat there. Girl, answer the question. Stop this whole coy act and answer the question. Marcel said people said you're not in love. That's who. And she just sat there smiling. Tisha said, see, this is what they talking about. Then Destiny starts playing the whole, well, can I talk? See, this is what happens. See, everybody gangs up on me and then I don't want to say anything. No. This really is exactly what they're talking about. If you are asked a question directly, give a direct answer. To give this vague response and then just sit there staring and smiling is annoying at best. Be direct and forthcoming. I do not understand this thing with people wanting to be on reality TV, but they want their whole life to be a mystery and a secret. Like, pick a struggle. Carlos asked her again, are you in love? She said yes. Carlos asked, well, what do you have to say to people who feel that you don't share as much as your castmates do? She said, well, in regard to my marriage, I would have loved to have shared more details, but legally I can't. And so you'll see more. Carlos said again, we understand the circumstances with your marriage. However, for the 30 episodes this season, that has not been a part of your storyline. So he said Tisha and Kimmy have both expressed that they feel like they have to work very hard to pull things out of you on camera. Kimmy, would you agree? Kimmy said yes. And I've told Destiny this both on and off camera. Carlos said, well, why do you think that is? Why do you think Destiny's that way? Kimmy said, well, I don't know. That might just be the kind of person she is. Some people are just private, but this might not be the platform for you if you're going to be private. I said, well, Kimmy, you got some damn nerve. Didn't y'all just get put on blast for having a whole meeting where you want to keep all of your husband's little secrets? What it boils down to is Kimmy don't like Destiny. She hasn't liked Destiny since her first season on this show, since they got into it for calling Destiny's ex-husband the chicken man. And she wants to call her out for the same thing that other people, including herself, are doing on this show. Kimmy is saying, this is a reality show, and at some point you gotta talk. And Destiny is looking around like, this is some bullshit. Carlos used that to segue into saying, well, Destiny, producers have said that you're difficult. And Destiny looked annoyed. He said, producers say that they throw things at you and you just don't bite. I said, not we in the HR meeting behind the fourth wall, child. Destiny said, well, let's be clear. There have been many moments throughout the season where I have been open, vulnerable, and emotional, and they just didn't air. So I would love to see my story told too. I'm watching the show like, where is it? Tisha agreed. She said, yeah, that's true. She said, yeah, and a lot of the times it just didn't play. She said, there's more to my life than my marriage and my divorce. There's more to me than that. And I can now say, I don't feel like y'all were before, but now I can say y'all are getting into more parts of me and more parts of my life. And y'all are getting into me rebuilding the broken pieces. I know that's right. In other words, tell production, I got issues with them too. Y'all ain't gonna be out here talking about I ain't producing when I give y'all the product and y'all just choose not to use it. Carlos must have looked like he was buying what Destiny was selling, so Kimmy piped up to say, well, in all fairness, that's happened to all of us. Destiny said, but we talking about me. He asked me about me, so... Kimmy said, I agree, but I mean, you're saying it like it's specific to you. Destiny said, he asked me about me, so I'm responding with how I feel. So Kimmy and Destiny keep going back and forth about, well, I'm just saying it happens to everybody. And based on the way that you phrase the sentence, what you're saying happens to everybody. Destiny said, and I'm just clearing it up. So the episode comes to an end with Marceau telling Destiny, well, I mean, don't come for Kimmy just cause. Destiny said, I'm not. I'm just saying. Kimmy said she ain't coming for me. She's not. See, I'm tired of Kimmy because Kimmy can interject into Destiny's question segment to say whatever she wants to say. But as soon as Destiny responds to defend herself, to address a question that's addressed to her, it's don't come for Kimmy. And why does Kimmy have more smoke for Destiny not having a storyline than she has for Mel, who's always coming for her husband, or who called her a side chick, or for her husband who be out till 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning? Why you ain't got no smoke for them? It's giving, I don't like her and I want her off the show. Kimmy pretends to be a nice person with a strong sense of character who's always neutral and trying to resolve things and trying to interject peace, but she's not. She's just quiet and strategic with her words. Now, having said that, it looks like next week we're going to have tears all over the place. They're going to be discussing Kimmy's health issues, which of course is going to be a tearful moment. And it looks like Carlos is about to be weeping like Jesus wept. But he is concerned that Martell is still in love with Mel and he feels the need to put up this facade. And what? Tisha is going to be telling Mel about her dark soul and she's the devil in sheep's clothing. Oh, child. Mel is going to be accusing Destiny of calling Martell all times of the night, and Destiny is accusing Mel of hacking Martell's phone. Mel and Martell are beefing because it's Tuesday. Mel is telling Martell she don't understand how he could be friends with people who dragged his name. And Martell is explaining to her the concept of forgiveness and says he has forewarned everyone that if she ever said she forgave them, to not trust her because she wants something. And it looks like Destiny is going to be showing up for work, y'all. Y'all see, I ain't giving you nothing. Well, I'm about to give y'all Mel secrets next week. Child, it's going to be a time, but that's it. That's all. And I ain't got no more. This was a draining, exhausting, extremely long episode, child. Thank you so much for coming down here listening to me and letting me get this off my chest. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And in the meantime, until next time, just like every time, I love you and I mean it. Bye.